the founder, CEO of Larian Studios. He gave a speech on the Game Awards. It's a really good speech. He's talking about, developers, treat them right, let them have fun creating the games they want to create, and, the revenue will come in. All that shit will come in, lovely, idealistic talk. High key, I call bullshit. I called bullshit instantly when I heard the speech. Why? Because a lot of gamers don't know Larian Studios' story. So, because he's speaking from this place of self-righteousness, and I'm like, Spin, like, you are one of the luckiest studio CEOs in the world, bro. People don't understand. Larian Studios was losing money. They were on a nosedive before Baldur's Gate 3. They were on a nosedive before Baldur's Gate 3 because Larian is a big ass company. They have hella developers, almost 1,000. They are a big ass studio. They were on a nosedive because they were bleeding money because they weren't making enough to sustain their company. And then a fucking megacorp named Tencent walks in, hands you all this money for 30% of your company, don't want nothing in return, and just left. No other gaming studio in the world has that type of luxury, bro. No other gaming studio in the world had that type of luck on their side. So you got exactly what you needed at the perfect time from a mega corporation that didn't want nothing from you. So now you have shareholders, but you don't have to appease them because they didn't want anything else. They don't want nothing to do with the studio. They don't want to make no decisions for you. They just took 30% of your company and fucking left. And it's like, so free money for Larian Studios to create games, and then Baldur's Gate pops off. You get it into early access. Your fans buy in. The luck of the draw was on Larian's side the whole time. Then the game launched. It was great. I played it. Didn't like all of it. I liked most of it. Didn't like all of it. Hated the combat. One game of the year. Big ass deal. They made so much money. And as long as Spinaz doesn't get greedy, he's the CEO. So they don't have to hit arbitrary sales targets. He just has to pay his employees to keep creating games. That is all he has to do. But he X'd out 90% of the gaming industry with that speech. Because he said the Oracle told him who's going to win Game of the Year. This year, next year, then the year after. Because those are the developers that aren't getting shit on by CEOs. That aren't trying to hit arbitrary sales targets. That aren't trying to put all these things in the game to make more money. And I'm like, damn, so AAA gaming, they're never winning Game of the Year. I mean, Rockstar is out, Sony's out, even though Sony won this year. But we're going to get to that. So GTA 6 can't win Game of the Year. Monster Hunter can't win Game of the Year. Fucking nothing from Microsoft is winning Game of the Year because all of them have to hit some type of sales target. All of them got to bring in some type of revenue. They all have expectations on their brain. So only the developers with no expectations and fun on the brain are able to win Game of the Year. That's what his speech was saying. So I'm like, the only reason Astrobot fit into that is because Sony doesn't own Team Asobi. That was a second party deal. Just like Helldivers was a second party deal. Just like Stellar Blade was a second party deal. Since Sony doesn't own them, they don't really have to hit sales targets. That's why nobody bought Astrobot. That motherfucker only sold 1 million copies since it's been out. Maybe it's closer to 1.5 million, 2 million, something like that. But like nobody bought Astrobot. That game didn't have to sell anything. It still won Game of the Year, no matter if you played it or not. Even though nobody on PlayStation played it. But after it won Game of the Year, the cap online was crazy for Astrobot. Like, oh, it's an amazing game. But like, if all of y'all played Astrobot, why did it not sell anything? That's what a lot of people were trying to figure out. Because if all these motherfuckers capping for Astrobot should have won over Metaphor, what the fuck? Over Atlas? Crazy. But it would have sold more, wouldn't it? But it didn't. But that's why that speech worked for Astrobot. Is it going to work for the people next year? He said it would. He spoke to the Oracle. But I'm like, so he just X'd out all of AAA gaming with that speech? So no AAA games will win a Game of the Year? Because arbitrary sales targets, because of shareholders, and I'm like, the self-righteousness, bro. Like, you were in a privileged position to be making that motherfucking to be making that speech. And I don't know if he really understood that when he was making that speech. Because like the random developers that are making the games motherfuckers love, the Call of Duty developers that are selling millions of copies fucking days on days on days. Like those people, like They don't have the luxury of being like, oh, no, they go to work, bro. They don't get to make the game they love. They're not you. You run Larian. You get to make the game you love all the time. And you don't have to make more money than what you want. Your greed is everything because you run the company. But some of these people, they get a job at a company and then the company just gets more fucking greedy. PlayStation is one of them. Why do you think they cut out how many studios? Look at what happened to Bungie. Right when they got bought by PlayStation, everybody thought there was gonna be a cute ass little partnership. Fuck no. Sony has 100% control of Bungie now. They took that motherfucker from them. They don't have the freedom they used to. They don't get to make the game they used to. Now they have to make money for PlayStation. They so it like the speech was so good. Like it was a real good speech, but like he's speaking from a place where no other developer gets to be. At least 90% of the gaming industry would not be where you are, bro, and they won't get to be where you are. It's like, so the 10% that he's talking about that could win Game of the Year now, hopefully they create something people actually want to play, or it's going to end up like Astrobot, because like the opinion is so crazy around Astrobot. People was like, oh, but no critics hated the game, but no players played it. So what is actually Game of the Year now? The game that the critics love the most, or the games that the gamers like to play the most? We don't really know at this point, bro. I don't really trust the Game Awards anyway, especially after they snubbed a whole lot of games. They put fucking DLC in Game of the Year. It's a whole lot of things. But we're gonna talk about it on Gaming News Week. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.